Good morning, everybody. We almost ready? Audio working? Check, check, check. Thank you so much for joining us. Before we formally get started, let me just either let you all know, remind you, press will be able to get some footage closer up to the bus, around the bus, in the bus after our press conference. So you'll get your shots. You'll get your shots. Not just your vaccines, but your shots of the bus this morning. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for being here. My name is Alex Padilla, and I am proud to serve as your United States Senator. And I thank you all for joining us today for this special announcement. But I want to begin by thanking Superintendent Buettner and School Board Member Garcia and the LAUSD family for being our host today. I also want to thank my friend and Congressman Tony Cardenas, who's leading on this issue in the House of Representatives. We're also joined by ASIU Local 99 Executive Director Max Arias, and we're at a very important location. As you see, the number of buses behind us. We're here at the School Bus Transportation Hub, an important visual reminder of indeed how large the school bus fleet is here in the Los Angeles Unified School District alone. It's a reminder that each and every year these buses travel 23 million miles. And it's great to tour the fleet, knowing that we pulled up on the first electric bus for the Los Angeles Unified School District, with 10 more that are on the way. Zero-emission school bus technology is hugely significant, and it's an incredible technology that will dramatically decrease carbon emissions and noise in our communities. But I want to set the context properly here. When we look at the nation as a whole, it's important to recognize that 90% of our nation's bus fleet is comprised of school buses. And 96% of those buses are diesel. Now, I know firsthand the impact of outdated diesel school buses because as a product of the Los Angeles Unified School District, I remember my days in elementary school and middle school, we used to call it junior high. I was one of the students that would ride one of these buses, and I can still smell that diesel exhaust. That's how strong that memory is. Before the pandemic, 25 million American children continue to be exposed to that same diesel exhaust that I remember smelling as a child. When they ride across the country, more than 500,000 predominantly diesel buses. Now, this pollution not only harms our children's health, but it also impacts student achievement. See, studies show that transitioning to cleaner buses can support not just the health of our students, but their academic performance as well. As we work to build back better our nation's infrastructure and combat the impacts of climate change, we have an obligation to help the Los Angeles Unified School District and school districts throughout California and throughout the country accelerate their transition to zero-emission school buses. Now, the bus behind me is obviously an important start, but we have a long way to go to complete the transition here in Los Angeles and around the country. That's why I'm proud to have partnered with Congressman Tony Cardenas to introduce the Clean Commute for Kids Act to authorize $25 billion for a new grant program to partner with school districts across the country to accelerate the transition away from diesel buses to zero-emission school buses. Let me be more specific and precise in the coming months as we consider the President's proposed infrastructure plan, Build Back Better, the American Jobs Plan. We have prioritized this program to make sure that it is in the final product that Congress will approve $25 billion to partner with school districts for this transition, and we know the program already has the support of the Biden-Harris administration. So Congressman Cardenas and I and our colleagues in both houses of the Senate, of the Congress, know how important this is, and it's our commitment to ensure that we include it in the final infrastructure package, because it's an essential component of building back our collective infrastructure in a way that's more equitable and more sustainable for our children, for the environment, and for our future. And that word equity, I want to make sure we emphasize that. 40% of the funds, as we propose, are set aside to help school districts that serve the very communities that have been disproportionately devastated by environmental injustice over the years, including many of the communities here in the Los Angeles Unified School District. So we're hopeful and optimistic and eager to see the benefits of this initiative in the months and years ahead. And with that, let me say just a few words briefly in Spanish and then introduce the Congressman. Muchísimas gracias por estar con nosotros esta mañana en este anuncio tan importante para el medio ambiente, la salud de nuestros niños y la educación de los jóvenes en las escuelas hoy en día. Reconocemos que más del 90% de los autobuses en el país son autobuses escolares y la gran mayoría que funcionan con diésel. Pero hoy existe la tecnología de camiones eléctricos que pueden no solo reducir el impacto al medio ambiente, sino mejorar la salud de nuestros jóvenes, ayudándolos mejor a aprender y educarse mejor. Y es la propuesta que tenemos. El congresista Cardenas y yo estamos proponiendo que se aprueba un programa de $25 mil millones para asistir a distritos escolares en el país, como aquí en Los Ángeles, hacer la transición de los autobuses viejos a autobuses nuevos y limpios para el mejoramiento de la educación, del medio ambiente y nuestras comunidades. Muchísimas gracias. And with that, let me introduce my friend, Congressman Tony Cardenas.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Alex Padilla. Senator Alex Padilla. What some people don't realize is, for me, this is a very emotional moment. Alex Padilla and Tony Cardenas grew up in Pacoima, California. We both went to public education, LAUSD. We were both told, unfortunately, in more ways than one, kid, you're probably not going to amount to much. Don't think about the sky's the limit. Settle for less. But luckily for Alex Padilla and myself, lucky to be born as American citizens right here in Los Angeles, our parents were born in another country where the sky wasn't the limit. The limits were very low. And we're so proud to be part of this public education system in America, because where our parents came from, that system didn't exist. So when the opportunity came for the state of California to appoint the most qualified individual to represent us in the United States Senate, as Kamala Harris got sworn in to become the Vice President of the United States, there was no better person, better prepared to be our United States Senator. I've introduced this bill more than once in Washington. But when I knew that Alex Padilla was coming to Washington, I said, we are now going to get the job done. I'm so excited for this bill. I'm so excited to know that $25 billion, that's with a B, ladies and gentlemen. In the past, our country, the state of California, and other communities have tried to do this job, but only with millions. And for the first time, we are going to do it with the billions that we deserve to give to our children, to our communities, and to the environment. As the senator said, if a child is affected by diesel exhaust or any other environmental impact, their ability to learn, to fully appreciate their capacity to learn, is negatively affected. When we see electric buses rolling down the road, we should all be proud of the fact that we are giving our children a chance, that we are allowing them to be able to learn to their full potential. And that because a few adults came together, like Senator Padilla, my colleagues in the House of Representatives, and yes, Monica Garcia here at the local level in the school district who welcomes these funds, we are going to see a better future for our children, a better future for our economy, a better future for the environment. This bill is a lifesaver. What we're doing here and the buses you see behind us are going to be cleaner, they're going to be better, not only for our children, but for our entire communities. And what's important to me is that we are going to show the world that we, the United States of America, can do it right. We are going to show the communities in East LA and Pacoima and on the west side that we, when we come together, we can do it right. $25 billion is a big start. It's a great shot in the arm. And this is going to be the beginning of getting the job done right. Over 500,000 school buses in America today. I believe that we will achieve our goal of making sure that every single one of them is going to be replaced with an electric school bus. We are also going to make sure that the 25 million children every single day who ride on these diesel buses are no longer going to have to suffer that injustice of having to be exposed to cancer-causing chemicals. This is our mission, this is our goal, and we are going to achieve it. And when I say we, that's all of us. So I also want to take the opportunity to thank the voters of California, the voters of Los Angeles, and across the country for voting for the members of Congress and the United States Senate that are going to vote for this bill to get it on the President's desk so that President Biden can sign it. President Biden has already said, I want that bill on my desk. So that's what I'm reporting to you from Washington, to all of us here locally, that not only hope is alive, but the reality is that we are putting together what it's going to take to get it done. Quiero decir unas pocas palabras en español. Me da mucho orgullo para avisar a todos ustedes que al fin vamos a lograr lo que ustedes han trabajado tanto tiempo. Con los fondos que ustedes mandan a su gobierno, vamos a poner $25 mil millones de dólares para afectar el ambiente y las vidas de sus hijos, para que ellos puedan aprender como se debe de hacer. Y me da mucho orgullo de decir que las dos personas que son los líderes en la Cámara de Representantes en el Congreso y también en el Senado Nacional del Congreso, es un hijo de inmigrantes, yo, Tony Cardenas, y también otro hijo de inmigrantes, el senador Alex Padilla. Y voy a decir gracias a todos los padres que han esperado para este momento, y gracias por todos los esfuerzos que ustedes hacen cada día para sus hijos, para su comunidad y para mejorar esta comunidad de los Estados Unidos, este país de los Estados Unidos. So with that, I'd like to introduce our superintendent here in Los Angeles, Superintendent Austin Buhner.
Thank you, Mr. Congressman. And just a quick reminder, what we are doing at the microphone is taking our masks off. We are safely distant with masks on when we're not speaking, and I believe we are all vaccinated. It is my privilege to be here today with our newest senator, Senator Padilla, and Congressman Cardenas, both proud products of Los Angeles Unified Schools. This is what America looks like. This is the best of what we can do. We're proud to serve with you. Thank you. If we're here today and you listen carefully, what you're going to hear, actually, you can hear birds chirping in the background. And then you'll hear a bus come by, and you won't hear the birds anymore. And Mr. Garcia, our bus driver, would tell us what the students notice first about the bus is they hear each other. They don't hear the engine. They don't have to shout over the roar of the engine. They can actually converse and make the journey to and from school a very, very different experience. Now, in Los Angeles, we feel a commitment to lead. We feel a commitment to work alongside our dedicated leadership in Washington to show the rest of the country what good looks like. We have about 1,900 buses which roll every morning to take students to and from school, about 40,000 students. In an ordinary day pre-pandemic, those buses would circle the world 4 times. 1,900 buses would be one of the largest municipal fleets of buses in the nation. This is the first step in our commitment to make sure that every one of our buses is clean. Every one of our buses is electric powered with no noise, no emission. No emission meaning each bus you see, like the one behind me, will reduce greenhouse gas to the tune of about 50,000 pounds a year, 50,000 pounds less each year of pollutants put in the environment. Each bus will save about $10,000 a year. So the gift keeps on giving. We are more efficient. We're able to put our dollars to use in classrooms and make it cost effective as we sustain a program like this. But this is only a start. What we aim for is to make sure every child has the good fortune to be on an electric bus on the way to school. In a cleaner environment, to hear their classmates in the seat next to them and not hear the noise of a diesel bus or inhale the fumes of all the different particulate emissions. And we are so grateful for Senator Padilla and Congressman Cardenas for their leadership, for their advocacy for this, and we look forward to a swift passage in Congress, the signature of President Biden, and our ability to take what are now 10 electric buses in Los Angeles Unified Fleet to 100 to 1,900 so that we can continue this journey. Thank you very much for being here. It is my privilege to introduce Board Member Monica Garcia. This is not a new topic for her. She's been advocating for this for years, and we're so delighted this moment has come where national leadership, local leadership, an empowered and engaged school board, and bus drivers like Mr. Garcia can stand here in support of our students and promise them the better future that they deserve. Thank you. Monica Garcia.
Thank you, Superintendent. Thank you. Good morning. What a pleasure to be with you, celebrating a great opportunity for our students, our district, our community, and yes, our nation. Thank you, national leaders, for being with us. I am so pleased that we can tell our parents LA Unified graduates change lives and change the world, and we are watching U.S. Senator Alex Padilla and Congressman Tony Cardenas model exactly that. What we are talking about today is good for the kids, for the community, for the organization, and the planet. And we welcome, our board will pass the resolution in support of this legislation, but more than that, we heard our bus drivers say, when the kids don't get this bus, they go, ah. So we already know the customer appreciates the investment. And the second point I want to make is that I hope every young person is understanding that your graduation matters. For us, transportation is essential in ensuring access to public education. So I am grateful, I am supportive, and I want every congressperson, every U.S. Senator to know they can come get on the LAUSD bus anytime they want. They are welcome to sample. Es increíble para mí. Estoy muy orgullosa ahora de estar en alianza con nuestro liderazgo nacional, en el senador Padilla y nuestro representante Cardenas, que son hijos de este distrito y son líderes en este país, y ahora nos dan la oportunidad de apoyar una medida, una inversión que es muy bueno para Los Ángeles, para nuestros hijos, para la graduación y para este país. Así es que cuenten con nosotros, estamos aquí para apoyarlos. We are leaders, we are learners, and we model. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for your leadership. It's my pleasure to introduce Max Arias. He is the executive director of our partner in making the world better, SEIU Local 99. Welcome, Max Arias.
Good morning. My name is Max Arias, Executive Director at CAU Local 99. We represent 30,000 classified employees in LAUSD, cafeteria workers, people that clean, people that support teachers. We also represent bus drivers, such as Mr. Lewis back here and Mr. Garcia right here, that actually combined have over 4 decades of work in serving children. As the schools begin to reopen, school buses are the first sign that children are coming back to the classroom. Throughout this pandemic, we've recognized that we need to come back better and stronger than before. The Clean Commute for Kids Act is the step towards rebuilding healthier and with greater equity. Investing in zero-emission buses will mean healthier communities for some of our most vulnerable students and essential staff, including the thousands of special needs students and their assistants who ride LAUSD buses every day. It will mean school bus drivers, many who dedicate their entire careers to transporting students, will breathe cleaner air as they work and not worry about developing lung and respiratory problems after years on the job. And just as this law will improve health and safety, it will also create better jobs in our communities. Yes, as we build back and we create this infrastructure, those jobs must be good jobs. They must be union jobs. The Clean Commute for Kids Act includes important investments in workforce development and training as well. And it prioritizes investment in low-income communities of color that have historically faced the worst excesses of pollution. This pandemic has taught us how health and safety are connected, how everything we do every day directly affects our well-being. We are proud to support this legislation that takes direct action to address the lessons learned by the crisis. We look forward to expanding the electric school bus fleet at LAUSD from 100 and to rebuilding stronger, healthier community from 1 to 100. Sorry, that's what I meant. En español, es importante apoyar este acto. Este acto trae equidad. Lo que este acto logra es empieza a crear condiciones para que haya menos contaminación para los niños y los trabajadores que manejan estos camiones. Y como es tan grande la flota, va a tener un impacto positivo en la ciudad. Pero es importante que cuando este acto pasa, de Clean Communities for Kids Act, se haga con miras a que los trabajos, la gente que va a hacer este trabajo, sean buenos trabajos, trabajos sindicalizados y trabajos que paguen bien y que ofrezcan beneficios adecuados. Next, I would like to introduce, it's my pleasure to introduce the California League of Conservation Voters Federal Advocacy Coordinator, Aaron McCall. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Aaron McCall, and I'm from the California League of Conservation Voters. We are a climate action organization that has been working since 1972 to make sure that there are climate-focused solutions delivered by our government. I want to thank everyone for coming out today. One of the things that I want to do before we start off is thank our partners, CHISPA, for their hard work in making sure that we electrify school buses. They started this back in 2016 and led parents, families, and students across the United States in 6 key states asking governors to electrify school buses, and what we're seeing today is a realization of that dream. So we want to say thank you to that. The thing is that the EPA estimates, as we saw, that about 28% of the greenhouse emissions comes from our transportation, and 90% of that emission comes from our school buses. Our school buses, the majority of them are running on diesel fuels, which not only contribute over 5 million pounds of greenhouse emissions every year, but it's also connected to adverse outcomes in our children's health and development, including cardiovascular disease and long-term lung problems. It's no coincidence that this also affects the Black, brown, indigenous folks and marginalized folks in our community, and that asthma is the #1 childhood illness that is facing American children today. When we talk about building a greener future, we also have to make a commitment to build back better and deliver environmental justice to these communities that have been left behind. This is the first step in that. What will happen with these buses is that it will decrease about 5 million pounds of carbon emissions every year. On top of that, 25 million children every year will be able to live and breathe a fresher air as they go to school every day. The only reason why we're here is because of the hard work of Senator Padilla and Representative Cardenas for leading this in the House and the Senate and making sure that we are delivering a just transition that focuses not only on building strong union jobs for folks, but prioritizing and centering our climate and environment. Thank you so much. Have a great day.
All right, well, thank you, everybody. We'll now open it up to your questions. Any questions from the press? Or- Right. So that's a very, very good question. For those who didn't hear, the question was, wouldn't it make sense to simply replace the buses as they're reaching the end of their life, if you will? And number two, what about all the natural gas buses that are part of the fleet? And number three, can the electric bus manufacturers even produce this volume of buses in a short amount of time? Look, as much as I would like to wave a magic wand and have all the diesel buses go away overnight and be replaced overnight, we know that it's going to be a phased-in approach. And so being smart about how quickly we can phase in which buses to take offline first, the diesel buses before other fossil fuel led buses, is going to be part of that plan. You know, there's school districts across California and across the country that have already begun the transition. Right, so one of the things to underscore here is that we don't think this is just a good idea that we hope works. Zero-emission school bus technology exists, and we know the positive impact that it has. And so what Congressman Cardenas and I are doing is asking the federal government to step up and put resources on the table to help accelerate the transition, because we want to achieve the benefits sooner rather than later. So we do think it's a wise investment when it comes to our children's health. We know it's a wise investment when it comes to environmental improvement and air quality. And we know it's a wise investment in academic performance, because when kids don't have to worry as much about being sick, about having to stay home because of asthma or anything else, they're going to learn better, and we know that we're all going to reap the economic benefits of that over time. Yes, sir.
If it passes as expected under the larger infrastructure package, how quickly, because we've got 1,900 school buses, but only a dozen or so that have already been converted, what's the horizon on seeing really an impactful number of electric buses on the road? And in terms of turning that over, how much more quickly will that happen for LAUSD if compared with otherwise, which is not passage of the bill?
Okay, so I'll answer. I'll ask, Congressman if he wants to chime in, and we'll ask the school district to talk specifics about the schedule, the time frame for the transition for Los Angeles Unified. Look, what passage over the next couple of months of the Clean Commute for Kids Act will do is not just send a strong signal to school districts across America and provide the resources for the transition to districts across America, but it sends the signal to all the manufacturers that, look, the big orders are coming. And I have no doubt that they are in a position to quickly ramp up capacity, if it means hiring more, if it means expanding plants, and getting the economic benefit of that in the process. That's all part of this win-win-win. Creating good quality manufacturing jobs is definitely part of the goals and objectives here. Congressman?
I'll just keep it on. It's important to note that here in California, we have many examples where when legislation and funding takes place, the markets or the builders of those products start to move. Luckily, when it comes to electric transportation vehicles, that technology has already advanced tremendously. We're actually in front of a bus that's actually built to the size and scope to carry kids across America with buses just like this. So the technology is already there. Now what the industry is going to see is the incentive to know that when they invest in their plants, when they invest in their personnel, etc., what they're going to get is they're going to get a buyer. So that's what this $25 billion is going to do. It's going to accelerate the innovation. It's going to accelerate companies across the country and across the world to say, we want to sell you a school bus, and we're ready to have that certified school bus in your neighborhood. So that's what this bill is going to do. $25 billion is going to be the biggest shot in the arm that the world has ever seen, certainly what our country has ever seen, specifically when it comes to school buses. And I'm pretty sure Austin Buhner has some technical additions.
Thank you. Just let me elaborate. We have set a goal to be zero emission by 2040, about 20 years from now. This legislation will allow us to cut in half the time that will take. So by 2030, every student will have the privilege to get up in the morning, hear the birds on the way to school, and be in a cleaner environment. And it is that symbiosis between school districts and manufacturers. Of course, we couldn't change 1,900 buses tomorrow, nor would we want to. But as we plan for the replacement of buses, we want to plan to replace buses with the cleanest, safest, environmentally most sustainable bus, which is an electric bus. So this will allow us to cut in half the time. By 2030, every child will get on an electric bus on the way to school. Thank you.
We'll take one more question. Sure. Why don't we do a pull aside after? Okay. All right. There's nothing else. Thank you all for coming. And again, the bus is available for shots if you're interested. Thank you. And last but not least, round of applause for our school bus drivers. Yeah! Mr. Sanchez, Mr. Lewis, thank you for carrying the most precious cargo in the country. Thank you.